Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Cafecito con Colon, also known as Brian Colon's Extrovert Therapy. So I appreciate you coming to therapy with me this morning. It is another great day. It's the 15th day of April, which is normally our tax day, but you have something to be happy about, I suspect, because you don't have those taxes due. And those were delayed because of the midst of what we're in the middle of here. So we've got two doctors joining first, Dr. Neely Lang and Dr. Lawrence Roybal. We're glad you're with us again today. Pammy, thanks for joining us. Good to see you this morning. Good morning, Doc. We have some really wonderful stories that I found today that are going to lift you up. They're going to make you smile and really just be a wonderful source of energy today. Look at this. I am of the opinion that we ought to include barbers and hairstylists as essential services in New Mexico. My hair's getting out of control here. Good morning, Selena. So good to see you. Bernadette Baduro, Speakers Live, New Mexico. Thank you for joining us out of Santa Fe County. Elizabeth, thank you for being with us. So good to see you this morning. Good morning. So I'm going to get right to it. We've got a great day with media savvy citizens. We're going to have Pamela on with us today. Pamela is a real expert. She's been called a lifesaver. She is really lighting up classrooms around the country, and I'm honored to have her on the show today. Good morning, Lindsay Orcasitas. Appreciate you being here. Fred Silva, I've got so many of my angels online today. Thank you so much for being with us. Cecilia de la Cruz de Jaramillo, good to see you today. Cristina Chavarria, good to see you this morning. Hey, look, for Cafecito con Colon, yesterday Barrela's Coffee House held a pop-up. I've been missing my family at Barrela's Coffee House and my chicharrones, but today I get to use my Barrela's coffee mug. Jerry and Mike gifted me this yesterday when I took about $75 worth of takeout as they did a 3-hour pop-up over at Barrela's Coffee House, and they sent me on my way with a coffee cup. I hope that Barrela's gets to join us today. Not sure if they're going to be online, but it was great to be with them. Good morning, Felix Peralta, my brother Jason, and Jari, one of New Mexico's best artists. Good to see you today. Donna, good to have you this morning. Steve Jones, good to see you this morning. Swoops, good to have you with us on Cafecito con Colon. So let me get started. I better pull up this Facebook page here, and hopefully we'll have good service today. It looks like the internet here at Casa Colon is working just fine, so it ought to be good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Cafecito con Colon. It's 9:03 now. We're going to get started and start moving forward. Good morning, Alex. Good to see you today. Your meditation this morning went well, I trust, and I actually did a listen last night on my way to bed. Alex, post the link to your meditation page on Facebook. I listened on my way to sleep at about 1:30 this morning, and then got up at 5. But at 1:30 this morning, the last thing I listened to was your meditation to the Grand Canyon. And I enjoyed that. I appreciate you, Alex, and appreciate your friendship. Jonathan Jones, good to see you this morning. So good to see you. Okay, so look, I've got my page up. I'm ready to go. We've got about 40 folks online with us this morning. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And after the show's over, please share these posts. We get about 40 to 80 people online with us live every morning, but certainly throughout the day, because you sharing this post, if you find it of value, like yesterday, we had such a great show with our coordinator for the Domestic Violence Network in New Mexico, the Coalition. And she did just such a great job. Pam Weisman did a beautiful job, I think, laying out some of the issues that are important to us as we try and combat domestic violence and keep our families and individuals safe in their homes over the course of the next several weeks when stress is on the rise and families are in situations and some people are in danger. Rocky Lara coming at us from Eddy County. Good to see you, Honorable Rocky Lara. Mary Baca, good morning. Dr. McCaffrey, today's a big day for Dr. McCaffrey, I think, if I have that right. I think you might be on a ballot today. Gary, glad to see you. Jeanette, thanks for being with us this morning, and thanks for your kind notes and your likes and along the way, that love you share. And you and Mr. B are really cranking it out on the floral artistry. So if you don't know Jeanette and Chris, go to their Facebook pages. They are just incredible artists. They've got a beautiful backyard with the Virgen de Guadalupe back there, and just their posts are so inspirational, and I am very, very fortunate to consider them dear friends. So thank you, Jeanette, for being with us this morning. Don Corville coming in from out of state. Diana, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's see, Celestina, good to see you this morning. Appreciate you very much. All right, let's get started. It's 9:06 or 9:05, and I want to give you some great inspirational stories. How about a war veteran who's 99 years old, and by doing walks in his garden, raised $6 million. Yes, $6 million. This story came out at about 4 o'clock this morning, Eastern time, so about 4 or 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. We were talking just yesterday about the National Health, the day before, I'm sorry, with Tom Guida. Is Tom on this morning? I don't know if Tom was able to join us, but Tom talked to us about the National Health Service in the UK, and he talked about the quality of service he received there, some of the difficulties with the service, but indeed he certainly celebrated the work of the NHS, and clearly the Prime Minister, who was released a few days ago from the hospital after being in intensive care, certainly said that that London hospital was the heartbeat and certainly saved his life. And this 99-year-old Brit, he's a British war veteran. He raised $6 million for the NHS, and he wanted to do 100 laps in his garden. He was aided by a walker, but check this story out. It'll make your heart grow this morning. Thank you, CNN, for posting this beautiful story. I was inspired by it. And then on NBC, there's a great story here about a work-from-home proposal. This is a cute one. Again, don't watch these videos now. They're for your consumption later. I don't want to distract you from what we're going to share today about media savvy. It's going to be great. We've talked about fake news. You hear about fake news and you hear about media literacy. Well, we've got the real scoop for you today. So there's a great story there on NBC News about a woman working at home when she gets a training video, and it turns out to be a wedding proposal. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. Makes your heart grow, makes your day great. And then I want to tell you the last good story nationally that I want to post here is about a landlord who essentially forgave rent for the next 3 months and asked his tenants to spend local. So look, there's good things happening on. There's light everywhere. And then you get to good news in New Mexico. And I want to encourage you to get your April edition of New Mexico Magazine for free online. I've had a subscription off and on for years. It's usually about $12 to $18 a year for a subscription to New Mexico Magazine, but the April issue is free. So I wanted to give you that link to New Mexico Magazine so you can get that free coverage. So let's see here. We have other good local stories before we bring in Pamela to talk to us about media literacy. How about the Yankee catcher picking up on an Albuquerque girl's artwork? Again, this is similar to the national stories. It'll make your heart grow, but it's about a local beautiful student. So I want to make sure and share that with you this morning. And let's see. How about the biopark? They're getting a lot of good ink or a lot of good electronic media. We talked about social distancing and the Penguins practicing social distancing. I think I posted that link a couple days ago. And now we're going to post a link here from this is from KOB about the biopark keeping the animals healthy, happy, and safe. And so there's some more good biopark news for you on this beautiful Wednesday morning in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So let's get to a little bit of serious news. You know that I was advocating for an all mail-in ballot. Our Supreme Court set their hearing and ruling from the bench yesterday. I think I previewed and told you that was going to happen. They did do that as usual. New Mexico Political Report has good coverage on that, but essentially there's no way to mail out a ballot to everybody, no matter the public risk and the public harm that is going to be presented if we're not careful in the upcoming elections. But the Supreme Court said no to the all mail-in primary ballot, but they said yes to having clerks mail ballots to all the residents for applications. Not ballots, but applications for absentee ballots. So we're all going to get an application for an absentee ballot. We need to send that in. You can already go online and go online and request that absentee ballot today. But the clerks will more affirmatively do that now based on this New Mexico Supreme Court ruling. So I'm going to ask Stephanie to post that link to the Secretary of State's website so you can request your absentee ballot. Good morning, David Hernandez. Good morning, Laura Montoya, one of the fantastic team members at the Office of the State Auditor, tuning in this morning. Good to see you this morning, Laura. Thank you for being here. So, there's that story on the New Mexico. I will tell you that it was a joy, not in the outcome of the decision, but I really enjoyed watching our Supreme Court justices, Chief Justice Nakamura presiding. They brought back by designation Justice Chavez, who is one of our all-time great Supreme Court justices in New Mexico. He did a tremendous job there, sitting by designation on the Supreme Court. I enjoyed that very, very much. And there's the absentee ballot request. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Stephanie. Also, I want to point out that the state of New Mexico has put up a new, I always put up the NewMexicoHealth.org landing page, the NewMexico.gov, and that gets you over to all the information necessary, whether it's for coronavirus updates or whether it's for employment opportunities through Workforce Solutions or unemployment benefits requests. But they put up a new dashboard. This public dashboard for the COVID-19 is very instructive, similar to that which I've shared with you. And you know where about today we'll cross, if we haven't already this morning, Johns Hopkins incredible dashboard that shows the worldwide view of what's going on with the COVID-19. And I think we're about to be at 2 million cases. I think it's coming up right now, and I bet we are. Last time I checked, we were at 1 point. I know we're at 2 million. As of just a couple hours ago, folks, we are at 2 million positive diagnoses of COVID-19 confirmed worldwide, and over 128,000 deaths. Those 2 million cases confirmed are out of the worldwide testing. We've now passed the 3 million tests in the world, and we do have those confirmations there. But New Mexico, again, continues to lead the way in providing information. We have 1,400 confirmed cases after we tested nearly 33,000 New Mexicans. Huge overrepresentation on our Native American community. I feel like I say this every day, but we're now over 30% of those cases who have tested positive, the 1,400 cases, are Native American. They only represent, depending on what count, when, and how, between 9 and 11% of our population in New Mexico, yet they represent over 30% of our positive cases. Team Chisholm and Brian's Angels have clearly overrepresented the amount we've served in terms of those boxes of love and food that we serve with our care packages. We have delivered probably 800 care packages out of the over 2,000 that we've delivered to Native American communities. We'll continue to do that and try and serve that community. But check out that new dashboard. It is quite phenomenal. It shows the gender breakdown. It shows the age breakdown. It's got it all there. And you can expand the demographics. You can choose a county. It's really phenomenal. I'm sad to say that we do have 36 deaths in New Mexico, all with underlying conditions. But the good news is, out of those 1,400 cases positive, we have over 340 folks who have recovered. Here is the story in Albuquerque's Journal that came out about midnight last night. It's in today's paper about the overrepresentation in the Native American communities in New Mexico and the tribes really feeling the brunt of the coronavirus impact in New Mexico. Thank you, Dan Boyd, for your good reporting. So let's do this. It is 9:15 now. I am going to tell you we are really fortunate today to be able to have another great guest on Cafecito con Colon and Pamela. And don't forget, at the end of the show, I want to make sure and remind you about Lady Gaga's deal that raised, probably $50-60 million now to fight the coronavirus pandemic. She's got her relief concert coming up, live streamed on April 18th. Tons of celebrities on there, from Taylor Swift to Oprah to everybody you could want to have on there is going to be on there. Don't let me forget to give you that link again, as I'll be watching that just like I watched Andrea Bocelli. Just the most amazing 30 minutes after the papal Easter celebration. We watched Andrea Bocelli, and it was remarkable. Just remarkable. So Pamela Pereira is going to be on with us this morning from Media Savvy Citizens. Pamela is recognized as a media and learning leader. She's a speaker, she's an artist, she works with students, teachers, parents, administrators, legislators, and community members to make sure that we have a media savvy citizenry. And she's been in many classrooms implementing critical analysis and production workshops. She's doing great online workshops. We're going to post some of those. She stores them. The workshop that she did last week is online streaming. I just sent that to Aleli so she could see that. I think I sent it to her yesterday. They've got upcoming seminars, one today, this afternoon. So when you're isolating, you can watch this great media savvy presentation that Pamela is going to talk about today. But she does connect people to the issues that are important to them, their community, and to power. So without further ado, on Cafecito con Colon, also known as my extrovert therapy, thank you very much. We're going to get Pamela on the line from Media Savvy Citizens. Pamela, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All
Hello.
right. Welcome to Cafecito con Colon. Pamela Pereira. It's so great to have you online today. Fellow Hispana, thank you for being with us. Now, if I get it right, are you Boricua or no?
No.
No? All right. Where's your family from, Pamela?
I'm originally from Bolivia.
Bolivia.
From South America. Yes.
Viva Bolivia.
I've been in New Mexico for 25 years, close to 25 years, yeah.
Excellent. So you understand?
And my kids are New Mexican.
That's great. So you understand our complex interstate system now after being here for 25 years, Pamela?
Oh, yes, I sure do. And I've been working in and out of many schools for this whole time. And so that really gives me an insight. But just, I work with a team of people. It's not just me.
Well, tell me about that. Tell us about the team of people you work with and tell us about Media Savvy Citizens. I'm just going to really open this up for you to introduce yourself. Tell us how you found New Mexico a quarter century ago, and then tell us about this deeply impactful work you're doing in the classroom and with families.
Okay. Just really quick about myself. I write fresh out of college and was traveling, wanted to be in the mountains. My family had immigrated to Florida, and I really had a connection I'm from the mountains, and really just wanted to travel. New Mexico is very similar, I guess that's how I ended up here, very similar to where I'm from. We have similar issues, and so it felt like home to me, and I stayed here ever since when I came through 25 years ago. And that interesting part is that I actually studied communications. And this brings us to the Media Savvy Citizens work because back then, it was the 90s and we were looking at the media was different, right? It was mass communications. There were just a few channels people could choose from. And now we find ourselves in something completely different. But even back then, I felt like, I don't want to push the message. I want to talk about how messages are created, how this all happens. And I've been doing this kind of work in different ways, educating about all the different techniques that people use to get your attention and all that kind of stuff. Now, sure. I heard you earlier brought up the issue of fake news. Right. Fake news has been around for a long, long time. It's always been there. So it's since yellow journalism. Right?
I just think, Pamela, I will just give a little political commentary. I just think that today when we talk about fake news, you have to actually check to see if fake news is really fake news, because so often it's a diversionary quote that it's, this is fake news, look the other way. And I think what we know now, thanks to fact-checking and online capacity, we know that often we have individuals who call things fake news that are actually real news. And that's why Media Savvy Citizens is so, so very important.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. I guess I should introduce the team that I do work with. And I do work with teachers and administrators, people in the leading field of education. And so part of that is like a team of people who come from media literacy background, media studies background, communications, education, leadership, what does education look like? So there are a lot of digital learning, digital coaches,
right.
And so just to bring it all together, because we're living in a very complex time where nothing lives in its own silo. Right?
Well, that's right. And you have you've got a great website with lots of great information on it and resources. And then the thing I liked a lot was you've got you and 3 of your colleagues, just like 4 female powerhouses advancing this message of being media savvy. Tell us about the mission of Media Savvy.
Oh, thank you. And I should say we actually need to update our website. We do have some males on board as well.
That's all right. You don't have to talk about them. Stay focused. Give me your mission. Stay focused. Give me your mission.
Thank you. Okay, well, Media Savvy Citizens is a project that was born out of New Mexico. We are facilitating the understanding, then the positive participation, and, important, meaningful media interactions for New Mexico learners, right? So it's understanding the world in which we live and facilitating the way that people interact with their phones, their technology, their education, etc. And as we see now, like almost everything we're doing is digital, right? Kids are going to school digital. Some people are being forced to live in a digital world, and we're interacting in ways for some people that they've never interacted before or haven't really had a huge amount of practice. And there is a lot of information. So what we do and our job is to help people sift through that information, provide different techniques and practices for understanding and being able to. So this week, today, in fact, we have a webinar on digital citizenship, and it's specific for educators. And so digital citizenship can mean so many different things, to so many different people. So like what a educator might tackle with an elementary student might be different than what a high school educator or a college educator would be addressing, right? And, and how those elementary students versus those high school students are participating, with media and technology.
Sure.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. We want to make sure that the folks that are listening into Cafecito con Colon, we make this easy as falling off a log. So I've given you the homepage for Media Savvy Citizens. And now for Pamela, she just mentioned this training this afternoon. I've just posted the link, the Eventbrite link to register today for Media Savvy Citizens, Digital Citizenship for Remote and Continuous Learning. Get a load of that, folks, for remote and continuous learning. What a better time to tune into this issue than a time when so many of us are interacting remotely with one another, whether it's through Zoom or whether it's through the daily classroom that Aleli hosts for her students. Like, now is the time to embrace the concept of media literacy, being media savvy, and being good citizens, whether we're learning in a classroom setting or learning remotely. And that's what today's all about, isn't that right?
That is right. Thank you so much. In fact, you are being a model digital citizen at this moment, right? You are a citizen journalist who is sticking to the facts, really guiding people in the process, and you are being a responsible digital citizen, right?
Well, thank you. I needed my gold star, and it's only like 9:24, and I already got a gold star today.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
And so that's what we're shooting for, right? We're modeling behaviors. Yeah, we're modeling behaviors for people, to follow.
Sure.
That's what educators are doing. That's what we parents are doing, right? When some parents need guidance, some educators need guidance. And so that's where we come in. And when we talk about media and media literacy, media is any form of communication that's not face to face, right?
Okay.
Here we are talking through a medium of a phone. People are coming in through the medium of Facebook to access this channel, right?
Sure.
And so anybody could be a journalist, anybody could be a media communicator. And so literacy and the whole concept of literacy has shifted, right? It's expanded literacy. What does it mean to read and write today in the 21st century? What are we reading? We're reading images.
Right.
We're reading memes, you know, and younger kids and the younger generations are not reading necessarily big, long news articles. Things are more synthesized. They're smaller, bite-sized pieces of information. And so, and there is a lot of it.
That's right.
Right. And so we have shifted.
Hey, Pamela,
to
that's
this
you hit on something that I thought about. I was thinking that, I understand why we're now trying to source better and identify those sources when we get opportunities to read articles. And you know how it gives you that sense of, okay, this is a 2-minute read or a 12-minute read or a 20-minute read. And I thought, for our younger generations, and even for me sometimes, to be honest, I got David Buckholtz on the line today, and I got so many great folks here with me. Miguel Rojas, so many, Erica Anderson, my classmate, Dr. Dahl, Terry Marie Garcia, thank you for being with us. Adrian, thank you for joining us. And I know all you will hold me accountable, so I'm just going to admit, yes, I do too. But it seems to me like a lot of times I'm more likely to skip past the articles that have the longer length in terms of time that it's going to take me to read it, and I'll get in on those 2-minute reads. And so I always think that certainly has the plus and the minus, because before they tell me in advance how long the article was, I might get into it and then actually read a 20-minute article in the Wall Street Journal.
Well, that happens a lot, and so we also rely on people to synthesize information for us, right? Like right. Sometimes you're not in a mood to read a really complex subject or a long right. article or a 12-minute or a 15-minute read. You want to watch the Cliff Notes, right? You want to watch the 30-second video.
That's right.
Right? And so because we're sifting through so much information, and so who's putting out the information? How is this information being put out? In fact, just today I was having this conversation on my Facebook page with somebody who had commented and said that Facebook had a group for the coronavirus, like the hub. Right. For getting your information on coronavirus, and somebody brought up, well, there's a lot of misinformation on that page. And so what do we do about it, right? Like, what do we as citizens do about it? And so I had recommended, because she had said, well, I went to Facebook and I let them know that their information was misinformation or maybe disinformation, right? There's right. a difference. Misinformation is doing it for a malignant purpose, whereas disinformation is sending out information that's not on, you just might be just sharing information that's not necessarily correct, you right. know, and I've been interacting with a lot of people lately that are sending articles and different things even to me, right, through my Facebook Messenger, where it's just this mass thing. And it's, what happens is we get these messages that are just hit us at the gut level, right. At the emotional level, and then we react. And so we need to just chill out, take a moment to reflect on what is being said, who is saying it, what is the source, what is their purpose, why is this being put out, and, is it true, is this something that I believe, is this a credible source, right? That's next week's webinar. So we've decided at Media Savvy Citizens to do a series of webinars to support educators, and anybody who's interested can join the webinars, but to support educators in their shifting into what it looks like to be, in a remote and continuous learning, and what kind of support do those educators need to support their students, right? Because in the olden days, things were much simpler.
Sure.
We are now having to figure out a lot of different things really quickly. Besides how do I meet with my students? And what we're seeing now across New Mexico. In fact, we're working with a group of teachers across 30 districts this year through our Teachers Transform program. It's a professional development program. Right. And so these webinars are linked to that program and supporting those educators across New Mexico. And we're seeing, the whole gamut. We're seeing, what it's looking like offline and the blended way of learning and teaching and the fully online, and we're coaching and helping teachers transition into this phase of learning and what this looks like, and really kind of going back to the basics. Like, let's talk about digital citizenship, right? Let's discuss like what students are interacting with right now, and let's talk about like sifting through information and vetting out like what's credible and what's not credible.
And here's what's amazing and impressive about your work and your team's work at Media Savvy Citizens. Is you are not just, you understand the rural and urban divide. You understand that all of New Mexico doesn't sit on I-25. And you've gone into districts that are as small as like Pojoaque Valley. And you went up there and did some great work up there. And I want you to, can you give us a little deeper dive? You started to touch on it, but on the program for the teachers, Teachers Transform, right? Tell us a little bit more about that. Of course, I got a particular interest. I start and end every one of my days with an educator. That's why I never fail to mention how important teaching staff and education professionals and EAs and TAs are to our future and the strength of New Mexico, because I enjoy sleeping in my bedroom, not on the couch, and so Aleli is in control of that messaging.
Okay, well, our Teachers Transform program, it's a media fluency professional development program. And so this specific year, it just happens to be that we were doing this pilot. Our funding came from the New Mexico legislature. And
who was your best advocate there? Can you tell us?
We had the late Senator Carlos Cisneros was, who felt really strongly about this issue and about the need for media literacy. As you know, we're living in a very fast-moving world and interacting with media and technology, and the need to have, in the end, understanding, people who reflect and think critically and act in a way, in a positive, meaningful, way.
Can I interrupt you, Pamela, just to give us the snippet of a definition? It's great to have so many folks on like Idalia this morning, Daniel Faulkner, my lifelong buddy. So many awesome folks have joined us this morning, like Dr. Rueda, an incredible doctor here in town. Sherry, we're glad you're here. Nancy Cooper, welcome back. Robert Parra. But all these folks are really, can you give them the quick definition of what do you define as being media fluency? Because I think that's something we talk about, media savvy. You talk about media fluency. We've got the great late Senator Carlos Cisneros, who was your champion from Cuesta, New Mexico. Beautiful Cuesta on the Enchanted Circle of New Mexico. If you haven't been up on the Enchanted Circle this year, you better get up there soon. They got some snow, if you can believe it. Quite a bit, not just like on the East Mountains here, but tell us a little bit about the way you define media fluency, because I think, or media literacy in a nutshell. I don't want that to be lost upon our audience.
Right. Okay. And this is where I was talking about like what is media, right? And okay. So media. Yeah. So first we got to define like it's any form of communication that's not face to face and through a medium. So that is media, right? And so communication is what we're talking about, right? We're talking about media literacy or media fluency, which are very similar, right? So is media literacy in the technical definition is being able to access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act on media, right? With media. And so evaluating and, analyzing and evaluating, when we say create media, we're not talking about go have your own show. Like here you are creating media. Anybody who presses like on Facebook is creating media and a media message, right? And all the people who have something to say, who comment on a YouTube channel, that's creating media. So how do we create these messages, right? And so a fluency, right, as we understand a language, right. It's really just being able to read and write, being able to not just read and write, but understand the meaning and what is being said and what is, who's saying it and what is not being said. And then being able to, when we say create, how do we participate, with our media? Like, how do we reflect on it and then participate with it? Whether it's Instagram or whether it's, typing a research paper or whether, because that is also media, right? And so the written word and also the written word in a digital way and audio, radio, podcasts, like all of that. So really being able to fully understand, read between the lines and understand what's behind the scenes and what's also in front, that's all. So a fluency and media fluency is being able to understand the world in which we live. That's the bottom line, because at this point, technology is not going away and we're moving fast. And, we're seeing the value of, what is provided to us and how we can use technology and media and, all these platforms and these tools to enhance, communication or connection. Everybody uses it for different reasons. And so that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about media fluency and media literacy. Now we have these teachers, going back to that, in this professional development program, and these teachers that we're working with across New Mexico who, and some of them had been trained a long time ago before all of, they're used to teaching in a different way. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to figure out, well, how do I engage our learners? They're used, some of their learners are used to interacting in such an exciting way with their video games and all of this. And then we're trying to teach them, the Battle of 1812. Right. And they're like, how do you make that relevant? How do you do that? In fact, even today, we're going to have one of our teachers presenting at the webinar who linked, she's a middle school teacher they were studying Greek drama. And so she linked cyberbullying to Greek drama, and they studied that she implemented texting and making memes and doing this. And she'll discuss her project and how, it takes a certain level of creativity, really, to be a modern educator and to engage your students, because that's what educators are competing with, right?
That's
but
exactly
also,
right.
And also, how do you make learning relevant? How do you bring in that and link it to the Battle of 1812 or, to the Great Depression? Right now, right. There are teachers who are connecting their content to, just to what's happening today, right?
No,
so
that's
we
right.
have this coronavirus, and we have some history teachers.
The 1918 pandemic, the flu pandemic of 1918, and growing up, I don't ever remember that coming up in the classroom. I'm sure Los Lunas Public Schools put it out there, but I just didn't embrace it. But I can assure you, if I'm a student today and the teacher's connecting up 1918 to what's going on now in 2020, it's going to register a little differently because they're creatively engaging the students with that learning opportunity and the connectivity. We've got folks like Senator Michael Padilla, who's an incredible advocate for early childhood development and the learning continuum. And we really have this opportunity to have families get more deeply connected with our educators, have more empathy for them now because they understand how difficult it is to engage students when they're distracted with issues of poverty, with issues of basic needs not being met, the basic needs on Maslow's needs hierarchy. That happens a lot in New Mexico. My wife teaches in the International District, the deepest pocket of poverty in Albuquerque. Senator Padilla looks through a lens where he understands what that's like. And so I just want to say that you bringing this education to the classroom allows our teachers to do more and with the same amount of resources they're getting, because you allow them to really understand how do we engage our students in a way that they can understand the world with the items and the platforms they're interacting with that our educators might not have interacted with themselves 20 years ago when they were learning how to perform in the classroom or how to engage in the classroom. And I think that's where people like Senator Padilla and so many of our great leaders, like the late Senator Cisneros, they understood that technology moves quickly, and that if we're going to engage our educators on these new platforms and how to help their students learn, we've got to be educated ourselves about it, which is why I'm so glad that Media Saavy is with us this morning. And thank you, Pamela, for joining us. And I'll allow you to continue to tell us. That's a great dive into the Teachers Transform. Can you give us a sense of what the footprint has been for Media Savvy citizens in the state of New Mexico?
Well, we're a new formed entity. And so this entity formed itself as a result of Well, it's kind of interesting how this whole thing came about, because I'm the chair of media literacy now, and I was working on as an advocate. I'm not a lobbyist. Working on a bill to create a comprehensive plan for New Mexico for moving forward with media literacy. So we were looking at standards and coming up with a committee to address some of these issues. That was actually led by Representative Antonio Maestas. Even back in 2017, we were working, on media literacy initiatives to come up with a comprehensive plan for New Mexico. In fact, Senator Padilla was also an advocate for and carried the bill on the Senate side. 2 years later, so in 2019, we had a memorial in 2017, and we had a very similar bill, but a more expansive bill that we proposed House in 2019. And as this bill was coming through, Senator Cisneros actually came up to me and said, "We really need a program. I get that you're doing this, let's just see what happens with that bill for a committee, but we also need a program. So let's do both." And the committee bill actually didn't happen, but the program bill happened. And all of a sudden, there was this money, and there was no entity in New Mexico to carry out the duties
and your credit, can I
of that program.
Right. And so I'm so glad that you popped up, so to speak. Like we have these pop-up restaurants now. You had this pop-up media literacy project, and we'd be remiss if we didn't spend, if we spent 30 minutes together and I didn't give a shout out to another late great who positively influenced my life. Sheree continues to positively influence my life, but the late Bob McKinnon, who we named a street after just a couple of years ago here in Albuquerque. He had the Media Literacy Project, which preceded Media Savvy Citizen, and Bob McKinnon he was a great man. He held true to his values and was a phenomenal advocate like you are. And Charisse is just someone who continues to have a special place in my heart. That's Bob's widow and another very impactful New Mexican who also, like you, is a citizen advocate.
Well, thank you so much for actually bringing that up. And, that's the thing about New Mexico. New Mexico is not new to this area of work. Since 1993, New Mexico has been addressing media literacy in different ways. And Bob McKinnon was around with Media Literacy Project for many, many years, and definitely was an advocate. And the project itself was, I think it was 93 when it started, and then it went all the way through 2015. So this is where there was this break in time, and I was, as a media literacy educator and, working by myself with specific groups, felt like, well, there's no entity right now. Nobody's doing this. Like, who's going to do this work? We need to get, the public education department involved and discussing what media literacy looks like today and what the need is for it. And so this is why the memorial happened in 2017, and then why we were working on the bill in 2019. But New Mexico was actually a leader in media literacy, has come up with a lot of pedagogy around the field of media literacy. And,
for those of you that are like me that don't understand all these terms of art, my wife has educated me. Pedagogy, that's the teaching and the platform and the delivery system for a particular area. Is that right, Pamela?
That is correct.
All right, good.
Sorry.
That's okay. It sounded very, very, very nice. I mean, pedagogy. I think I first heard that term in law school, but go ahead.
Right. That's the education. Sorry.
That's all right.
And so I forget, who am I talking to? Who is your audience?
Hey, my audience is just a great group of New Mexicans who loves to lift up New Mexico, lift up our state. It's going to make sure that we fall forward and get on the other side of this COVID-19 pandemic. And we are just looking for a dose of optimism every morning. And you have brought that with MediaSavvyCitizen.com. And so I'm glad you're here. Continue. Go ahead. So we were talking about Bob's great legacy. You're building on Bob's legacy. And Bob was somebody I knew, I loved. I continue to love his dear bride. And we've given him tribute in New Mexico with naming a street after him, I think, on the west side.
Yes, and one of the things that the Media Literacy Project actually did, because they also worked a lot on media literacy, and so even back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, okay, maybe not the 90s, maybe early 2000s, we were, the Media Literacy Project was working on getting people access to broadband.
Amazing.
Right. So,
amazing.
Right. Because if you need to access, right. So who has and who doesn't.
Right.
And so access was an issue and something that they were working on. I was after Bob, actually. It was through Andrea Quijada, who was the executive director after Bob.
Yep.
And,
yep.
and I know she was doing that, doing a lot of that kind of work. And so it's important to know that media literacy, can be so many different things, but really the bottom line is that yes, I am and we are building on the work that has happened in the past, and we're working to support educators because we feel like if we can support, and directly working with students as well, but if we can support the educators and we can transform them into,
how many districts are you working with, Pamela?
So we're working with 30 districts.
That's great.
And so we're working all the way across New Mexico, rural, non-rural. We're in Farmington and Hatch.
I love that.
We're in Dulce.
Dulce, New Mexico. Yeah. Hey, you get bonus points if you put in the comment section, what county is Dulce, New Mexico in? I know it well. And we're going to put that little trivia out there. I don't know what you win. I wish I had an extra Barella's Coffee House mug to give out to the person who wins it. But I don't. I am going to post. So I'm glad you're, and I mentioned that earlier, and I gave you props for that, right? Because I really appreciate that Media Savvy Citizen understands that not all of New Mexico sits on I-25, and that you're getting out to these communities like Dulce, and you're getting out to areas of beautiful, diverse communities that represent our culture, our heritage, our people, and our legacy as a state for the last 108 years and before statehood, our Hispanic communities and our Native American communities, like in Pojoaque, where you have those two communities coming together. Pojoaque, you've got Native American and Hispanic communities. You've got a lot of culture, a lot of community, and you're right out there in the trenches doing that work. And I really want to applaud you for that, because not every organization that is programmatic understands that. And you deserve the props for that.
Oh, thank you. I do have to say, because I live in Taos, New Mexico, and had worked in all of Taos County and had...
Adrian wins, though, Rio Arriba County. There you go, Adrian. Thank you very much.
And so, there you go. So, Dulce, Rio Arriba is what you say, right?
That's right. Rio Arriba County. Condado de Rio Arriba. And let me tell you, out of the 33 counties in New Mexico, there are a few counties that have as colorful a history as Rio Arriba. I would like to say my home county, Valencia, does. There's some great stories down there about the Chavez family and the Mama Lucy's and the folks that came out of Valencia County, including Senator Michael Padilla. But thank you, Adrian, for that good shout out. We want to just say, Tori, I want to give you a shout out and tell you, go hug your husband, huh? A great community leader who's on the mend and in recovery. Robbie Anthony Sanchez and our great Brian's Angel and part of Team Chisholm there, doing great work with our masks covers drive New Mexico 2020. I'm going to tag him real quick in a post. If you want to see some of the great work we're doing, we've delivered over 8,000 meals, or 20,000 meals, I think is what it comes to. Or 8,000, I'm sorry, I don't remember the numbers. I know in terms of care packages that we deliver with food and love and hope, while really restoring people's faith in humanity in New Mexico, we've delivered over 2,000 folks, and we'll continue to deliver today. But Robbie has created over 4,000 masks with he and Sonny and their great volunteers in New Mexico, providing for our healthcare workers, our first responders. We're so grateful for the work you're doing and leading, Robbie, in that space. Now, we are now at 11 minutes to the hour, and I'd love for you to continue to stay on with me, Pamela. I want to give you a chance to give us some closing remarks about the important work going on by Media Savvy Citizen, but I also want to then maybe have you just hang on the line with us as I bring some good news to Willow, Whispering Cloud, Misty Parks, and Shri, and all the great folks who joined us. Artie Blanco, somebody who's really had an impact on my political journey and really is an inspiration for honestly, women of color in politics, and really advocating and lifting those folks up. So do you have some final words as we have Sergeant Andrew Jaramillo and Simon Kubiak and so many great folks with us this morning?
Thank you so much. I just want to say that I'm grateful for all the legislators and their support, the public education department, who has been great at also facilitating this process, and also the University of New Mexico, who is an advocate and working with us with this program. Also the University of NMSU, and we're like a collaboration of bringing of educators coming together to and so I just want to thank everybody, including Bobby Gonzalez, the Senator Bobby Gonzalez, who's also worked really hard for media literacy initiatives. And if anybody
now that's the newly ascended representative to the upper chamber, isn't that right?
Yes, that is right.
He's
he got
amazing.
Appointed. Yeah, he got appointed. He's been in the legislature. He's been a representative for a long time, and he took over Senator Carlos Cisneros, the late Senator Carlos Cisneros' position. Yeah, and so so what is it I want to say? We have a lot of social media pages. You can access any information you'd like, which is Media Saavy Citizens. So Saavy with a double B and Citizens with a plural.
You bet.
.com, and
we posted that link. We posted that link. We posted your Facebook link. We posted your Twitter feed. We posted your Instagram. I posted all of that connectivity because I'm media fluent. I am a media savvy citizen, and we're here today with Pamela Parera. She's crushing it.
I want to thank you. Thank you so much for having me on and doing that. If anybody wants to log in and register for the webinar today or the upcoming webinars, which are held every Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Right.
Go right ahead. It's free. They're free. So just go on the website. You'll find all the links there. Thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. Pamela, stay on the line with us for just a few more minutes. I'm going to go through some great stories. And just so you know, I posted your most recent link to I think the event you held on the 8th, a week ago, about tips and tricks when teaching online with media and technology. So you stream these as free YouTube videos afterwards. And that is just so flippin' awesome. Thank you for doing it that way.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. So look, we got some more great news going on that'll make you smile. The Winn-Dixie, which is of course our Albertsons or Smiths, and God love them, the Smith stores. I'm a pretty loyal Smith shopper. I just find the teams there to be so awesome. But there's a chain called Winn-Dixie, and if you've been in New Mexico your whole life, you probably wouldn't know about that grocer. But our grocers are heroes. They're community champions for making sure that I can go to the store and continue to get the sustenance for my family while I'm not out there hoarding. I'm trying to go to the grocer on rare occasion, but when we need things, it's always great to have the stocks on the shelf. And this Winn-Dixie gave 4 high school seniors a graduation they'll never forget. So don't forget to check out that line. I want to tell you that there's some great new saliva tests on the horizon that could be a game changer. And there's some good news about that I wanted to post. As testing, of course, New Mexico's led in testing around the country. And so congratulations to our leadership, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham and the great Dr. Howie Morales. And let's see here. I wanted to make sure that we had, before I close with our Lady Gaga extravaganza coming up, I want to get some important information out. Many of us will be receiving benefit checks. Some of us will not. Those who have income over $75,000 a year or combined household income between two spouses of $150,000. Those who are under that will get $1,200 each. And you need to know some information about some of the specifics, particularly if you don't file a tax return. So there's a great overall story, not BuzzFeed News. They don't always get it 100% right. I found this article that I did review to be pretty spot on, and I appreciated the links that it embedded in there, which is so important, right, Pamela? You got to check out the links that are embedded in articles to kind of evaluate veracity, right?
That is correct. You are right.
Excellent, excellent. So if you're a non-filer, it means you didn't file tax returns last year. There's a way to go online to the irs.gov, and I've verified that site, irs.gov, to be able to enter your information so you can get a payment during this emergency aid that's being given to families. Again, I hate saying stimulus because there's nothing to stimulate right now. We are at a standstill. We're focused on flattening the curve in America. We're focused on recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. and then hopefully we'll take some steps to recover the economy. So look, there's some good information for you if you're a non-filer. Wanted to make sure and get that out to you. You've got the John Hopkins website and dashboard that I post almost every day. You've got the NewMexicoHealth.gov. That's an important one. And then I'm going to just close with this. And Pamela, any other great news for us? Tell us one more great thing that makes you smile as we're all social distancing, or what I like to call physical distancing, because socially we're staying engaged, we're stepping up, we're calling 3 people that may be isolated, we're calling friends that we haven't been in touch with for a while. I talked to my friend in London. I don't know, the last time I had a 30-minute conversation with Tom Gaida was years ago, and we got to spend 30 minutes together online just 48 hours ago. And tell us something that has made your heart grow, that has enriched you. You know, I go online with about 25 to 30 men on Thursday mornings at 6:30 in the morning for my men's group, and I'm enriched by that on a weekly basis. Pamela Parreira, tell us what enriches you during this COVID-19 pandemic.
I shout out to Mother Nature.
Oh, that's
big
beautiful.
Shout out to the sun is shining and the air is fresh. And we always have to remember that it's not necessarily, everything's not, necessarily about technology, but there is this beautiful technology out there that's called Mother Nature. And a big shout out to that. So that is what inspires me.
Well,
keeps me.
I love that. I love that, Pamela. I love that. I was just thinking. I was looking on the feed here, and just as I was looking on the feed, I was thinking, we're in this together. The whole world is in this together. We've now reached the 2 million mark of positive cases of COVID-19 around the world, and I was just thinking about, that's what I wanted to say, following your comment about nature, which was so spot on. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I looked in the video here, and I saw this gift and this little award that I was given, or token of gratitude, and it says to Brian Colon, the Albuquerque Community Foundation Future Fund, of which I was a member from 2003 to 2013. Then they made me an honorary member in perpetuity, and I was fortunate enough to serve as a trustee for our community foundation after that. But this is just a beautiful little globe. But it says here, Margaret's awesome quote, Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Oh,
so look,
yeah.
How spot on
Thank
great
you.
is that? As we talk about media savvy citizens, and then as I segue from that citizenry to this one, which is awesome, which is globalcitizen.org. globalcitizen.org. I'm going to post up the pop culture feed on that. Are you tuned into this issue or this opportunity?
Yes, I sure am. In fact, one of the things that we talk about in our webinar today is global citizenship.
Really?
Is how we are all connected, right? So
That's right.
We are in this together, but we're also in our communities, and with the technology, we're all connected with everybody around the world, right? We're all doing the same thing together.
The world is a smaller place,
how technology
right?
connects, right? For bringing it back to how we are, we're having this very human experience. And
right.
They're all similar experiences. Nice, globe. We are all connected. And that's one of the positive things that you said, that, I just connected with my friend. And I think that's another thing that's happening a lot right now is we're going back, we're slowing down, and we're going back to checking in with our friends, checking in with our loved ones. Even if we can't see them, how are you? What's going on? I know you have a compromised immune system. What's going on with you? And all of that is happening, we're going back to that humanness and what it means to be human.
I love that. What does it mean to be human, or to be a global citizen? And that website that I just posted up tells us a lot about that. And then what I'm going to close with and telling people to have a beautiful day today is globalcitizen.org. They're having a concert April 18th. That's this Saturday. I'm going to be there. I hope you will too. I know you're going to enjoy it. We got Oprah Winfrey. We got J-Lo. We've got Lady Gaga. I mean, there's all kinds of 70 artists. They've already raised $40 million.
That's so amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, think of Adam Lambert, Alicia Keys, also known as our cabinet secretary for economic development in New Mexico, Amy Poehler, Andra Day, I mean, Sam Smith, Samuel L. Jackson, Safi Tucker, Stephen Colbert, Stevie Wonders, Taylor Swift, The Killers, Tim Gunn, Usher, wow. So lots of great stuff. Let me just say this. Pamela, it has been a phenomenal day, and thanks for starting it with me on Cafecito con Colon. I know that Patricia L. Chavez mentioned my profile pic today, and let me just close with that and say that I love you very much. I love you, New Mexico. I love the work you're doing, Pamela, and today is the 7th anniversary of the Boston City bombing. And I just don't want to be a downer, but I do want to say that there's a beautiful story as it relates to New Mexico, and I want to lift up New Mexico with that story. You know, I wasn't able to sleep after the Boston City bombing because there was a young family and children that were at the finish line waiting for their father to finish the Boston City Marathon. As a result of the bomber, a life was lost at that finish line of a young son. And I couldn't sleep after hearing that story because, you see, at that time, I was doing 5Ks with my son. And my son always finished the 5K in about half the amount of time as it took me to finish. And he was always waiting for me at the finish line.
Oh.
And I've never forgotten that. And as a result of that Boston City bombing and not being able to sleep, I woke up and told my bride that I was going to put on a 5K to benefit the victims of the Boston City Marathon bombing. And we did that. And we had the NMABQ 5K for Boston. And in less than 10 days, with the help of so many New Mexicans, we put on that 5K. I didn't even know how to run a 5K much very well, and I sure as heck didn't know how to put on a 5K, which is what my wife told me the minute I told her I had this crazy idea. But in literally less than 10 days, with thanks to the help of Ralph Pavon and Robbie and Adrian Perez and Sherry Perez and so many great people like Liz that stepped up and said, yes, Brian, we will stand with you in this crazy idea that you have. We created a logo, and it's the NMABQ 5K for Boston. And you know what, Pamela, in less than 10 days, I had this crazy idea that we could raise $47,000 from the 47th state to let the people of Boston know that we had them in our hearts. And people said it was crazy, but we did it. We ended up being the largest single donor. The state of New Mexico's people came together.
Goodness,
we were the largest
awesome.
single donor to the Boston First Responders Fund put together by the IAFF. I'm very, very proud of that. It was worth going over 3 minutes today to share that story with you. I posted some pictures this morning around 6:30 on my Facebook feed. Check them out. Thank you, New Mexico, for lifting up Boston. Thank you, Pamela, for being such a great advocate so that we can all be media literate and media savvy. Media savvy, citizens.com. Go there, check it out. Is it .com or
so
.org?
Much. It's .com.
.com. I had it right. Thank you, New Mexico. I love you very much. Call 3 people who are isolated. Tell them that you love them. Don't forget our elders. Don't forget our veterans. Make sure that mental health is first and foremost in each and every one of your lives. Be careful.
Yes.
If you're in a tough situation, check out the Coalition Against Domestic Violence in New Mexico. They're there for you. Pamela, thanks for being there for us. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
All right, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right. Ciao.